There's a reason why so many people say they don't feel like Trump is doing enough on the home front. And the main reason, because the lamestream media, they lie, they flip stories, or they just don't report them at all. Because this story that I'm bringing today is one that should be running nonstop on networks nationwide. But the reason why it's not is because the Democrats hate it, because it is one of the biggest roadblocks to them achieving what they hope to achieve, which was mass illegal immigration, anchor babies, and then them building up a voter base, which would almost guarantee them power for years to come. But Trump has been moving on them. As you see on this title, Trump just fired another 8 immigration judges in New York, bringing the total to a little bit over 100. Now, there's a difference between immigration judge and a regular judge, what they call an Article 3 judge. See, an Article 3 judge, a typical judge, they fall within the judicial branch. That's why President Trump is unable to go out and fire one of these radicals that's doing motions and blocking him from deporting people and trying to force him to give snap. That's an Article 3 judge. They fall under the judicial branch. Immigration judges fall under the executive branch, which is within President Trump's purview. So he has absolute authority to be able to fire and hire any immigration judges he wants. And he's fired over 100. And guess what? When they were digging into these people's past, they found out a lot of these folks were former immigration lawyers, immigration activists that did what they needed to do, went to school and made it to the level and became immigration judges. So they were able to keep on the activism, but within the robe. They could do it legally. And that's why you look and you say, man, how come all of these people keep granting asylum and we know President Trump is against it? It's because those activist judges that were spread out all around the country were still granting asylums and blocking deportations and all of that. But not anymore. Since Trump took office, he has been hammering the immigration judges and plucking them off left and right. As you heard me say, he just let go of 8 just the other day, bringing the total to over 100. But here's what you're really going to like about it. President Trump has been replacing these people, these immigration judges, with military lawyers. Now, you know you're doing something right when the left is putting up articles like soldiers in robes, why military lawyers cannot and should not serve as immigration judges. It freaks them out. So we're going to talk about it. But I got these clips I want you to see about this, because if you've been wondering, what has President Trump been doing? Doing a lot. But just realize the media is not covering 90% of the great things he's doing. And the other 10% of coverage that they give are just for things that they just can't ignore, like Israel and Gaza, gas prices dropping. So they have to give him props. But even those, they'll give the props. And then there's always a big but. But you know, yeah, Israel and Gaza stop, but we don't believe it's gonna, gases are down under $3, but so that's how they cover the 10%. The other 90%, that's good stuff, they just ignore it. But every hoax, every fake story, they run in that first day. So this clip right here, I want you to listen to these immigration judges as they express how they feel about what President Trump is doing. Then I'm gonna follow it up with another clip to bring it on home. Check this out.
What's at stake here?
It's really the future of our country. If the funding is going to enforcement and there's no justice left, that shows that our country is no longer embracing the need for due process and for justice.
That's a big statement. The future of the country is at stake here. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. If you're attacking the very judges that adjudicate cases, there's not going to be a rule of law. That should concern everybody, not just immigrants, but U.S. citizens.
Today is them, is immigrants. What about tomorrow? Who's going to get due process denied next?
What's at stake?
You know, I love how these left-wing radicals love to talk about due process when it comes to illegal immigrants that shouldn't have been here in the first place. So you want people who came in the country illegally to all of a sudden get this big courtroom showdown, and that was the plan, y'all. The plan was they get them over here. These radical immigration judges schedule out the hearings, you know, for years.
She turned herself in, and her court date's not until April of 2027, guys. April of 2027. You've seen it live here.
Y él me va a esperar a una tribuna para irse. ¿A dónde va? A Dallas, Texas. ¿No está No. ¿Feliz?
Demasiado.
Gracias.
Nada.
All right, guys. So she turned herself in at 11, and she was released at noon. 1 hour. 1 hour, guys, after turning themselves in.
And then pretty much a permission slip to be in the United States for 4 years until her court date.
5, 6, 7 years. And in that time span, the illegal immigrants are being encouraged. Hey, have children, have 2 or 3.
58% of the births
in Texas are Medicaid births.
58%?
58%. So think about this a second, Tucker. 20 years ago, Medicaid was 3% of the Texas budget. Now it's the number 2 driver of the budget. And it's due in large part to illegal immigration. People come across the border, have their babies. Sometimes they go back, sometimes they don't. We are destroying our children and grandchildren's ability to have any kind of future whatsoever. We're drilling holes in the bottom of the lifeboat.
So while they're sitting here waiting on their court date, they're also on government assistance. So they're milking the welfare or the SNAP program. They're milking the Medicaid program. And then they drop a couple babies out. And guess what? Now, with the birthright citizenship, the parents are even if they go to their hearing and they lose the case, they're not going to deport them because they have 2, 3, 4, 5 American-born children, U.S. citizens. They're not going to boot the parent out after that. And so this was the plan. Luckily, we got a man in the White House and a team in the White House that's seen it. We all could see it from a mile away. But remember how long the Democrats lied to us. The borders closed, Mayorkas. The borders closed, Biden and Kamala. The borders closed. Their plan was to get them in, keep them fed, giving them money, encourage them to have babies, develop that loyalty between them and the Hispanic base. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app, a super chat, or a donation. But you hitting that like button and then hitting the hype button if it's there really helps the channel. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And once you do, make sure you hit the notification bell and select all, so YouTube will make sure that you get notified when I upload new videos. And then ride off into the sunset, because Hispanics have actually trumped African American, no pun intended. Their numbers are bigger than African Americans in the country now. I believe they say Hispanics population is 25%. African Americans is 15%. Now, I don't know how actual those numbers are, but that's what I heard. So you heard those judges say that it was going to be going to be a detriment to our future, and they're right. Listen, when they say that Trump getting rid of these liberal activist immigration judges is going to be a detriment to our future. And let me explain who they're talking about when they say that. They're saying their future. So when she's saying it's going to be a detriment to our future, she's not talking about ours as America as a whole. She's talking about the left-wing radical side of the people in this country, the ones that want to bring in universal health care, global ID, illegal immigration infiltration, no loyalty to the Constitution, anti-American rhetoric and activity. That's what they want. Socialism for everybody. So by Trump doing this and replacing them with military lawyers, wait till I break down what that means and why they're so terrified of that. But check out this clip about what went down in Chicago, because he let go of 8 in New York. Check out what happened in Chicago. And you notice this lady looks familiar, right? She was the same lady in the previous clip. Check this out.
System is a major component of immigration enforcement in this country that judges say is being tossed aside in favor of expedited deportations. But since the start of his second term, President Donald Trump's administration has been firing immigration judges with years of experience. Now, 2 former judges are being blunt with the I-Team about what they've seen and what they now fear.
Oh my God.
Judge Jennifer Payton was the assistant chief immigration judge overseeing Chicago's immigration court for nearly 9 years.
I kept telling myself, and my husband kept saying, like, they're going to have to fire me. I'm not quitting.
Judge Payton is still reeling after being dumped in an email over the 4th of July weekend while on vacation with her family.
There's 3 complete sentences. No reason, no cause.
Judge Payton oversaw thousands of asylum and other removal cases. Now the contents of her office are stuffed in boxes, and she's sifting through the last 6 months.
Within a couple hours of the inauguration of President Trump, 4 senior leaders, all female, were fired by email. February 14th, a group of 7 assistant chief immigration judges like myself all received emails in the afternoon firing without cause. Why? I don't know.
Nobody knows.
No.
The upheaval has sent other immigration judges running for the exits.
There was a massive change in the tone.
Now, former Chicago immigration judge Christy Nelson said by April she couldn't take it anymore.
It was basically like we were being told that we weren't valued, that they just wanted to get rid of us.
The immigration court system is convoluted. It actually isn't a court in the traditional sense. Despite it having judges, attorneys on both sides, and hearings, it does not fall under the judicial branch, and it's separate from criminal court.
You're less independent because you're a part of the executive branch of government.
And it's the attorney general who can and now is firing immigration judges. Judge Jennifer Payton's 3-sentence termination letter came from the Executive Office for Immigration Review, a branch that reports to the attorney general. That office denied the I-Team's request for an interview or any comment.
I think that there's an effort going on to bypass the immigration courts.
One way to bypass the courts, the use of expedited removal, a process in which ICE can detain someone and deport them in a matter of days.
When there's fewer judges, I think the administration is going to be using expedited removal. They are using expedited removal more frequently than in the past, and it results in more people being deported.
I'm worried about myself and my future, but I'm really mostly worried about our country.
Late this afternoon, Senator Dick Durbin released a statement calling Judge Payton's firing an abuse of power and punishment for a non-political judge. Durbin says he met with Payton in Chicago Immigration Court late last month, triggering an email to the judge from the Department of Justice saying, quote, immigration judges should not directly communicate with members of Congress and congressional staff, and required all communication from congressional offices to be forwarded to headquarters for review and response. Judge Payton was fired soon after. And this story is still ongoing. Another Chicago immigration judge was fired just this past Friday after we spoke to these two other judges.
But they're not saying that's the reason she was fired.
She was not given any reason.
Wow.
All right, Luke.
Now, this is important. While we're talking about the ACA and Obamacare, to all the seniors out there, it's been very, very turbulent for seniors on Medicare, and premiums are going up faster than inflation. Benefits are shrinking and plans are disappearing. And in January, a lot of seniors may be shocked to find out that their prescriptions are no longer covered and that the doctors that they love are no longer in network. So don't wait and take that risk. Reach out to Chapter, the partner and sponsor of this video, because at Chapter, let their unbiased professionals help you make sure you've got the best Medicare plan available. In a free phone call that can last less than 20 minutes, you get help from these unbiased professionals, making sure that you're on the plan where you got the doctors you need and your prescriptions are covered. You can use that phone number on the screen. Visit the website. I'll have a link in the description and a link in the comments, but don't run a risk. Your health is extremely important, and let Chapter help you make sure you've got the best Medicare plan available. And she doesn't have to be. It's just like here in Florida. It's an at-will work state. You don't have to get any explanation. And that's what the issue is with these liberals. They freaking kicked Joe Biden out with zero explanation. They fired him and replaced him with Kamala Harris. They do it all the time. But when it's something that they don't like or is happening to them, oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world. And when these judges sit there and say, I have no idea. I don't know why. Could it be because 90-some-odd% of the immigration cases you saw, you was letting them in, granting them interest, even though there was no reason for asylum? And then you're scheduling the court dates out, 7, 8. That lady was extremely guilty of that, allegedly. All of those judges, they didn't just go after the judges just because there's a lot of immigration judges that are still on the bench. But the ones that are activists in a black robe, because remember, these folks all have history. They all have backgrounds. Some of them were immigration lawyers who became judges, where they would fight on behalf of illegal immigrants. And then they became judges, or they're just radical activists in robes, or they just got TDS so bad that they bought into the Democrat sci-fi, where, hey, illegal immigration, socialism for all, and we're going to do this by taxing the billionaires. This bullcrap of a theory, or whatever it is you want to call them, that they got, it's a huge lie, and it is a detriment to this country. So I find it rich that they talk about how, oh, I'm so concerned for this country. I'm so concerned, while Trump's getting people out. But when Joe Biden was flooding it with people who sexualize women, hurt children, people who take other people's lives, people who attempt to take other people's lives, those who smuggle illegal narcotics, all of that stuff was perfectly fine. When we saw military-age men with no children, no women, being let in by the thousands, not from Mexico or not from Afghanistan, which they flew them across the border, the hundreds of thousands of them. But we're talking about from areas where there is no conflict and there is no beef. And they come over and there's this one phrase that they can say, and it's, oh, you granted asylum. You get a TPS, a temporary protective status. And from that TPS, you're scheduled out for your hearing 5 or 6, 7 years. You're encouraged to have children while you're given welfare and Medicaid. Do you know the Somali community in Minnesota, like 88% of them are on government aid welfare? And then they did a news report recently where they thought it was a flex to say, the Somalis contributed $500 million to that economy and paid $67 million in taxes.
According to his research, Somali income is at least $500 million in Minnesota. They pay $67 million annually in state and local taxes.
They thought that was a flex, right? With like 80,000 people. So when you do the math on that, it broke down to something like Somalis were paying like $700 and something in taxes, and then as far as on the 500 million, that was like $5,400 that each Somali contributed to the economy and paid $700 in taxes. But when you looked at the flip side of that, which was how much are we paying them in welfare and Medicaid, it flipped over and it was not even close. What they were spending supposedly was a fraction of what they've taken. So when they say that the Somali community in Minnesota specifically, I don't know about everywhere else, is truly not a benefit to the United States, that's not Trump being racist. That's him being real. So they replaced these judges with military judges. Now, you know what they're afraid of? Military judges do what? They keep a schedule. They follow the guidelines. They're very structured. They're very organized. And what's the one thing about the military they pride themselves on? Lethal speed. So now you got judges in there that are coming from the military that are also trained in interacting with these folks and being able to identify, are they lying, to ask the right questions to see what's really going on. Not like these leftist activists who have never been anywhere, received no type of training in how you actually qualify or how you interview or anybody that's coming in. So they come over and shed some tears, and those ladies say, you know what, I'm gonna let all y'all in. Or a guy comes over, he say, he loves me, mama, and me, papa. And he's 48 years old, crying, saying he loves his mama, papa, playing on that woman's heartstrings. She said, you know what, Juan, you, Sanchez, and Rodrigo, y'all come on in. You know what I'm saying? That's what they would do. Now, the military judges, man, listen, many who have combat experience, they're not falling for that. They're military. They're trained to deal with that and not let their emotions get involved like these left-wing radicals. So that's why they're saying soldiers in robes, why military lawyers cannot and should not serve as immigration judges. I'm not even going to read that article. I just wanted to show you when the Democrats start saying, you already know this, when they start saying something's bad and shouldn't be done, you automatically know that it's probably really good for America. Remember, the border shouldn't be closed. Remember, we shouldn't be using tariffs that have brought in $60 billion in 4 months. Remember, we should not be stopping the Obamacare subsidies that's getting the insurance companies and Barack Obama allegedly and whoever else is getting royalties and kickbacks rich. So when you look at what the Democrats say is bad or what the Democrats say is good, it's best to go opposite of whichever one they choose, because they're going opposite of everything that we choose on this side to their detriment. So I just wanted to bring you this to let you know our president is working. He's rocking and rolling. He's firing immigration judges left and right and replacing them with military judges. So you're going to see deportations kick up rapid speed. And I mean, when you look at the timing, we're only 10 months in and they're doing these things. This is why Trump having that first term and then having that gap in between, to me, was more of a blessing than it was a bad thing. Because it gave him a chance. Now, granted, we did have 25 million illegals and inflation hit up, but the onslaught that the media and the Democrats would have put on him, the deep state would still be strong and thriving. USAID would still be doing their thing because there wouldn't have been a Doge. It's so many things that took place. But the biggest thing, Trump took notes, he analyzed, and he came back. That's why the one big beautiful bill was so genius. The reason why they call it the one big beautiful bill, because everything that President Trump felt like he would need throughout his entire term was put in that bill. That's why, in case you didn't know that, that's why it was such a big deal to get it passed. It wasn't just tax cuts. No, that's one phase of it. This thing has phases, and we're only 10 months in. But if he would have had to go back to Congress, and let's just say the Democrats had taken control of the House, you and I both know he would not got approved for that budget. And so he was playing 5D chess. He said, okay, rather than roll the dice, we're going to put everything we need to complete the America First agenda in one bill. So he doesn't have to go back to Congress and ask for any more money at all. That's why he did that. And that's why his program is working so fast. They had everything lined up. He got the right people in place, and he was able to strategize and plan and plot. Democrats don't do that. They run off emotions. And when they're going off those emotions and that Trump derangement, they're on the wrong side of 90-10 or 80-20 issues, like immigration. 70%, 80% of the country still agree with getting immigrants out of the country. Democrats are on the wrong side of it, and they were fighting it. And they stopped fighting it in the streets. If you saw the protests die down, their judges kicked up. But that's cool. Trump and them going through, because remember, they fall under him, and he is bloop, 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 and there's nothing the Democrats can do about it. So I wanted to bring you that good news, let you know our president's working, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think. And let me tell you, if you stayed and watched it up to this point, I want to thank you from the top and bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate you. And if you haven't, hit that like button, and if you aren't subscribed already, subscribe. Most importantly, make sure that you stay safe and that you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.